Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
We are
Don't
Mess with the Mommas.
Mommas. And who are you?
I'm Carla, and this is Arlaana.
I'm Arlaana.
Okay, and that's who we are.
And our motto is you are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny. Okay, gang, today we're going to talk about the 8 wins with our topic called Stop Getting Swayed. The 8 wins is a Buddhist concept, but it's actually a concept of everyday life. And they are ready for this. I'm sure everybody will understand, and every one of these will resonate with you. So the first 2 wins, positive and negative, prosperity and decline. Prosperity is when your life is really gaining and growing, whether it be materially, physically, whatever, in which way. And then decline is when you experience great loss. It could be loss of finances, loss of a relationship, loss of health, loss of life. Okay, so that's the first 2. 3 and 4, honor or your good reputation versus disgrace, humiliation, okay? And very easy to get swayed by both of those. You have a great reputation, you think you're all that, everything is fabulous, and you just don't even see the train wreck that's about to come. And humiliation, certainly we get swayed by that. We want to have people, to, have a good feeling about our lives. 5 and 6, praise or accolades, and we all love that. We all love to be encouraged. We all love to get recognition, versus censure or criticism, blame or disparagement. Very easy to get swayed with that, and we'll give lots of examples. And then 7 and 8, pleasure. We all know that. Joy and gratification versus pain, physical or mental suffering. So, Carla,
Yes.
which one resonates with you? Of course, they all resonate with all of us, but what comes to mind first?
I think pleasure. Pleasure will definitely makes me happy, but the minute I fall out of having pleasure, I can be very miserable.
Of course.
And then criticism. That's another one that can make me very unhappy. But I love praise. But, the other thing is that we can forget about, we might think we're just too big for our britches,
Sure.
sort of like,
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
those are the ones that, stick with me.
If I can share two experiences, when I was singing in clubs, I could have 50 people that say, wow, you're wonderful and very talented. That one person who criticizes me, that's what I'll remember. And that's how I was, for many, many years. I was so swayed by negativity in particular. We're swayed by the most positive, we're swayed by the most negative. When we had our restaurant, when you have your own restaurant, people really treat you like royalty. I had my meals made for me by our staff, and I felt, wow, I was all that. And I even felt my life getting swayed. I said, something is not right about this. I shouldn't be in this. This is like a very ephemeral life state to be in. It's not even healthy. And then, of course, when we lost everything on our second restaurant, that put me straight. Of course, I was swayed by that. But believe it or not, that loss made me so much stronger than, all of that wonderful accolade, all those wonderful accolades. That loss really made me develop a stronger foundation.
Yeah, prosperity, it doesn't even have to be that you're rich.
Right.
You might just be able to keep your head above water, but the minute you start to slip, then you start to feel like this is not good, and you can get carried away by staying in that state of despair.
Absolutely.
So how do you get yourself out of that?
Right.
And it's said anybody who does not bend before these 8 wins is definitely a Buddha.
It's so hard. I mean, it's so hard that everything in life is there to sway us, and to, and that's why last segment, if you listen to last segment, we talked about the 8 winds. We talked about the 10 worlds. Well, the 8 winds very, very much alike, all of this, because so easy to get influenced in the most positive and the most negative. And when you're influenced in a positive way, very easy then to slip, as you just said, down to hell or something really negative, or something really negative affects you and you're just crushed, you just don't have that foundation. So just like a tree, if a tree has deep roots, it doesn't get swayed by all of these winds. That's why it's called the 8 winds.
Right.
Even like hurricane force winds are not going to affect a tree that's deeply, deeply rooted. And that's how we need to develop our lives, not to be so swayed by silly. I mean, I shouldn't say silly, but in a way ephemeral, things that are always going to change, So we need to develop a strong foundation so we're not swayed into positive or negative. It's okay, of course, to experience joy and, negativity as well, but not to be stuck in there where you're just like toppled over, like a weak tree just falling over,
And another thing that's important is to have the determination not to be swayed. In that moment when you start to feel yourself going under,
Right.
Especially when you feel like you're going under,
Right.
something heavy, something mental, to be able to snap yourself out of it, remind yourself that, no, I have a determination, even if you have to make that determination 3-4 times, because a determination will last for like maybe 3 or 4 days, and then you have to redetermine all over again. Okay? So determination is also what you need.
Yes.
To know that you can do that.
Yes, yeah, and I agree with you totally that, as human beings, it's so easy that if we get swayed, of course we do, but to keep on, as you said, to keep on redetermining, and that's what makes our life really feel more meaningful when you're not just toppled over by all of these conditions. And even, in the condition of bad health, and that's something that is so easy to sway us and get us so discouraged. And, we have many experiences of our members being diagnosed with terminal cancer, but their life, what we call life condition, was not swayed. Even though they were going to die, and we do die, we explain life is eternal. Of course, you go through phases of life and death, birth and death, and birth and death. But to have the life condition not to be defeated by your illness, to still experience joy in your life, every moment that you're alive, to really regard every moment as precious. And then at the last moment of your life to say, that was a great ride, I can't wait for the next thing to come along, not to be totally devastated by bad health. And that's not easy, especially when you're in pain, etc. Or the loss of someone, of course, very, very painful. As human beings, we of course have to experience that, but not to be bowled over so that we're no longer who we are or what we want to be.
And also, seeing what the benefit is in the turmoil. There's got to be a benefit somewhere. And my motto is, if you're going to suffer, you might as well get something out of it. Make it work for you, really. And chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo will do that for you.
Absolutely.
You'll get something out of it. You'll be able to see something that you might not have been able to see before in the whole circumstance of where your life is at that particular moment.
And it doesn't mean that everybody has to chant, certainly not. This is what we do. But just to think about your life in a different kind of way, perhaps, and not to be so swayed, or to recognize when you're getting swayed and to say to yourself, you know what, I need to pull myself back from this because this is not a good place I want to be in, because I feel my life just, the life energy sucking out of me, as we say.
Nichiren Daishonin, in his writings, he talked about, and I can't remember which writing it is, but he talked about the mystic law and about how, your life is the mystic law in one circumstance. Okay, that's a good circumstance. But it's also the mystic law when it's something that's not positive,
Sure.
negative.
Sure.
So therefore, you can right yourself. You can regain your center. You can be grounded, and just take on whatever the problem is, whatever comes.
And that's why we say, like, good and evil are not separate places.
No.
Good and evil reside in life itself. You can't have one without the other.
And they work together.
They do.
To bring about the greater good.
Absolutely, really. Yeah. We sometimes think, oh, that's not, we shouldn't have that. Well, yes, we need that. You need rainy days to appreciate the sun. You need struggles in your life to appreciate your life, or the victory that you experience after many, many days, months, years of arduous effort, and even failure. How much we learn from failure, more than we learn from success. So not getting swayed is really super duper important.
And winter always turns to spring.
Yep, it sure does. Yeah, and then sometimes we love winter too.
Yeah.
Winter you gain so much from it too, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're growing.
You grow. Yes, when you're growing.
The ground.
Yep.
Where you can't see anything.
And then you see the beautiful flowers of spring.
Yes. So, Arlaana.
Yeah.
Tell me, why do you think it's important to have control over these 8 winds?
Without it, we're just so weak, and our lives are just so influenced by our environment. We have no power whatsoever. And without power over our life, without being a protagonist, everybody else just tramples on you like you're a weed in the wind. And that's not the way to live. And it just is such a lack of respect for one's own life. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's important to have friends who you can talk to. In my case, when I'm going through any one of the 8 winds, and it could be mostly my family problems, I go and I talk to somebody, and they tell me something. Maybe one word, one sentence, one conversation can just redirect my whole frame of mind in a more positive direction. So that's very important. And I don't stay in that suffering long. I can change it instantly.
Right.
So that's the most important thing, because you want to be happy.
Yes. And friends, and what you said about friends and a community, that's so important too, to have somebody you can talk with, and not somebody who will just give you lots of flattery, because that in itself is part of the 8 winds. So just to flatter your life, what does that mean? But to be able to tell you things, because we can't self-reflect. I mean, our eyes are pointed outwards. So how do we see our own lives? But when somebody helps us see something about our lives that's causing us to be stuck and then get unstuck, that's so great. And then we gain more and more power over our lives. And isn't that the whole point of living, is to be a protagonist of your life and be the main character in your beautiful story with all the ups and downs of your life, and not to just be swayed like some minor character. You have to be the central character of your life.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, anybody around you. I mean, your circumstances. You don't have to wait for somebody to do something in order for things to change. And my friend, she talked to me and she said, I can't tell you when this will change, but it will change. And I went with that. And I challenged myself. And within a couple of months, it did change. So I always have that to go back on.
Yes.
That memory.
Yeah.
So it's important to have friends, people who know you. Even sometimes you can get advice from people who don't know you at all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, you have to be open.
And with that,
I guess
that we'll do some encouraging words.
Yes, some encouraging words.
Sounds like a plan, Shazam.
Okay.
So, There is no self-improvement without effort, without taking action. Happiness will never come no matter how long you wait. A life without peaks and valleys is a fairy tale. Reality is strict because it is a win or lose struggle. This is the way it is for human beings. Therefore, you should not allow yourselves to be battered about by reality, but rather willingly rise to its challenges and use them as opportunities to train and strengthen yourselves. So with that, we are
the Mommas. Don't mess with the Mommas.
Mommas. Don't forget, you
are the
protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny. Please Gmail us at mommas, mommas, podcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to interview you if you are so inclined. And you can find us on YouTube and many other platforms.
Leave a comment. We love comments.
We love comments, yeah, and we'll answer you for sure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.